Alright, welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk Outcast on Cinemax. Now, I know I said I'm going to do episode 2 review, 3 and 4 all separate, but I accidentally erased my episode 3 and 4 reviews in editing. It was a stupid mistake, pulling the card out. Something got corrupt, and then it was a file that was no longer MP4, some shit like that. Anyway, in order to play catch up, I'm doing 3 and 4 together, and then this Friday we'll do 5, and then we'll be caught up from that point on. Alright, going into this, episode 3 was, as a recap to refresh your memory, it dealt with the cop killing his partner's wife, and then it had the interrogation between Kyle Barnes and Reverend Anderson. Now, the interrogations I like. I really like those because it gives us some clues as to what's going on. It also gives us a little more mystery to what is going on. And then it gives us some things that we might not fully understand what they're talking about until we see more episodes. And those are the ones I love because it keeps it interesting when you rewatch a series like this. Because once you get some things revealed to you later on, you could come back and rewatch season 1 and be like, holy shit, I know what that prisoner was talking about, the cop in the prison now. When he said this certain line, I know what he means. That was pretty cool. Robert Kirkman created The Walking Dead, and then he created Outcast, but you saw that do not pick up hitchhiker signs. They zoomed in on that in The Walking Dead 2. I thought that was just pretty cool. One thing they did better, I feel, than the comic is the Megan and Donnie thing. We got a clearer image of what happened. Now, that might not have been their intentions in the comic at the time and how they revealed it, but they definitely made Donnie seem like way more of a creep. The tension was higher, the creepiness was higher. I loved it a lot. That's a remix from the comic that was very different, I feel. It was actually totally different. Everything about it. It felt like a whole new thing. I knew the underlining theme between those two not getting along, and they have bad history together, but everything else just felt different, and it felt different in a better way. It was almost disturbing. The tension was so high, I felt. And then we get the neighbor scene where you get this guy, the man in black, Sidney. He's shaven with this pearl, is that what it was? Like a pearl-handled straight razor. And then later on, when Kyle walks into his neighbor, we see his wrist slit on the floor is a pearl-handled straight razor. So that lets us know, well, hey, maybe Sidney killed this guy. In the comic, it was slightly different where Kyle goes over to the house and Sidney's there. He's like, oh, I'm cleaning up his affairs. He went somewhere. Something like that. Read the comic if you want to know. But basically, it felt like it was a better fit for TV, because then in the next episode, episode 4, we get more from the Donnie, Megan, and Mark scenario, and we also get the past exorcisms where you get this woman that Reverend Anderson healed, previously, and we're finding out that she might not be healed, which means Kyle's wife or ex-wife might not be healed. And then we also have this trailer. The trailer was interesting because at first I thought the chief was in on it. When Mark said, I gathered evidence and whoop-de-whoop, and he shows him the watch, I thought Chief knows who that watch belonged to, and he's going to cover it up. But then we find out that he does know. He gives it to the guy. The dog comes in. He's barking. Some weird shit's going on. We go to the trailer. The chief is watching, and the guy the chief was having a barbecue with, he shows up, lights the trailer on fire, and the chief calls Mark, and he's like, listen, let's run everything. Let's see. So now we know that the chief was actually, in his own way, furthering the investigation, seeing what's going on, and now he knows there's enough corrupt shit by giving the guy the watch back and luring him back to the camper, to the trailer at that time. I thought that was clever. The chief is in on it. So, again, like I said, for a minute there I thought they were going to make this chief corrupt in some way, and I'm really glad they didn't do that. It just felt a little cliche had they done that. Anyway, so what else we got? We have the funeral with Sidney's introduction, which I felt was actually better than the comic. I like the Sidney in the comic better. Right now, just looking at him, he gives off this creepy vibe just by the way he's drawn. The art is really good. I love it. But then in the show, he has a different look to him, which isn't as creepy as much as it is just odd. You know what I mean? Pale guy, black suit, older guy. It just seems odd. In the comic, it was more creepy, and I think I really like that. Again, I'm going to talk about the tension between Mark, Donnie, and Megan. I really like what they did here in the show from episode 3 and episode 4, letting that linger, letting the mystery linger a little bit and rest on our minds. And the tension, I think, is something that the comic was lacking. I think the comic kind of just, okay, here's a bit of backstory. With the show, there was that level of tension that at some moments it did slip and get slightly annoying, but others it felt really good, and it actually showed us a bit more of the character. You have this character, Megan, who at the whole time seemed terrified in a way. She seemed bothered, she seemed terrified, and if we look at this from a different perspective, at first we feel like she's terrified for herself. The memories of what happened, maybe what could happen in the future, of him harming her, him creeping her out, him attacking her. That's the kind of vibe they build up, and then they flip it right on its head where she takes a gun out of a lockbox, goes to visit him in his hotel room. I mean, that takes some balls, you know what I mean, in her shoes. And she admits, and again, if we take this for what it's worth, coming from her word and not just her talking shit, she's terrified for her husband and him throwing his life away, because if he finds out this is Donnie, he's gonna fucking go lose his shit, and he does. And I think that's so interesting, the way the writing and the reveals kind of lead us into this trap where we're like, okay, this woman is terrified for her own well-being, for what he's going to do to her. And then we get the reveal where it's like, no, I am scared to death because my husband, if he finds out, he's going to throw his life away, fucking you up. And a little bit later, we find out that is just what he did. Potentially. We don't know the ramifications of that yet. We do know some comic book stuff coming up. I'm not going to spoil it here. We're going to end episode 4 with the slow motion glass breaking, which I hope they explain, because I'm sorry, that is the moment where this got fucking dumb for me. I was riding high, loving Outcast, enjoying the shit out of it, really looking forward to the next episode. In the middle of episode 4, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta wait, 5 days for episode 5. Fine, whatever. I want more. I want to be able to watch the next episode. We get to that moment where you see her putting out glasses, and she was previously buying these at a thrift store. So I guess this is maybe they took this from a true story of some victim that later on would use this as a way to a way to vent, a way to let it out. And she set up glasses, and then she beat it with a hammer. Maybe that's her way to meditate, or again, let it all out. Instead of going to the gym, she does this. I don't know, with the slow motion and everything like that, it felt like whoever's responsible for it, it felt like they saw way too many slow motion videos on YouTube, and they were like, yeah, let's do something like that. We could do it really cool and insert it into the show. I hope they just clarify that a little bit and give it some more meaning, because if it's just simply to vent, it feels dumb. All right, there might be something there. Again, if there is, I'll love it, but I don't know. They lost me at that one. But that's all I got to say about episode 3 and 4 of Outcast on Cinemax. Give me your thoughts and opinions. What did you think about these 2 episodes? This Friday, episode 5, we will review it right here on this channel. Put your thoughts and opinions in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.